Welcome to the AM Hookah Podcast. We're live in 3, 2, 1.
What is up, Midnight Tokers, Afternoon Hailers, and AM Hookah Smokers? This is the AM Hookah Podcast. Joined with me, as always, is my partner in crime, Mr. Adrian Hunter. How are you doing this week, man?
What is going on, everybody? I'm doing well. Monday, as usual, we're here at the normal time. And just so everybody knows, we are going to be handing the wheel over to Hookah University today. Why are we doing that, Matt?
Well, Dr. Noobsauce is going to take the AM Hookah Podcast and kind of turn it into the classroom, if you will. We're going to be talking to a legal representative from a large tobacco company to go over the new laws that have been threatening the way that we buy tobacco over the internet.
Yep, and do not worry. We will be back Wednesday with the Gamecast as usual, and next Monday will be another episode of the AM Hookah Podcast, so everything will return to normal. We thought this is very important, so...
Go ahead and take it away, Dr. Noobsauce.
We got some stuff muted right now. Hold on. We're just playing the intro right now.
Okay.
Now mute yourselves. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for the AM Hookah Podcast for allowing us to use their time slot where they usually use this to reach out to their audience on all things hookah. And today we are kind of taking over a little bit to bring to you something that's super important to us as people in the community. And we've got a freaking huge amount of people on with us today. Too many to actual name. You will see them as we start up. So today we're going to be talking about the bill that is affecting the sale and distribution, any way you can get tobacco in California. And it's important for us to come together as a community, leave all the bullshit at the door. And when something threatens our hobbies and things that we like to do and things that a tool that we use to come together and have great conversations, we need to band together to actually, cut this off at the pass. And I know this has been a topic for a while.
There's no audio, Chris.
There's no audio? There should be audio. Nothing?
We hear you.
Yeah, you hear me, right?
Yeah, I can.
There's no one
here from Famari. We hear you.
There's no one. No one hears me on the stream.
Yeah.
I can hear you. With the shout, I can hear you.
Matt, can you double check?
I can hear you.
Yeah, you guys can hear me in the chat here. I want to make sure these guys can hear me on stream as well. Can they not hear me?
Everyone mute themselves except for Chris and myself. There's no audio in the stream. Everyone mute themselves except for Chris and myself. There it is now. There's no.
There's audio in the Facebook stream.
There's audio on the Facebook stream. There's no audio on his end.
Audio's good now.
Audio's good now. Okay, so Like I just said, we're actually doing today. Hopefully, can you guys hear us? Just let me know. Shoot me a text down below. You can hear me. Great. Fantastic, guys. So I'm Dr. Noobsauce, a.k.a. Chris Fernandez. And this is the classroom, which is substituting for the AM Hookah podcast today. So we're going to be talking about the bill that's affecting a lot of us. A lot of people have questions. We've gotten a bevy of people on here. And we would like to start introducing people. Jeremy, can you start just mentioning everyone that's in here real quick? You have to unmute yourself, bud.
We have John Nadur from hookahjohn.com. We have Steve and Shams from Zumerit Tobacco. We have Neve and Ron as well from Vapor Hookah Lounge and the Phoenix HMD. We have Matt and Adrian from the AM Hookah podcast.
You'll have nothing on YouTube when it comes to audio. Nothing on YouTube.
Okay, let's roll with it. We'll do it.
I will fix it as we go. Go ahead.
And we also have Rima, who is the lawyer with Fumari. And I think that's just about it right now. Oh, wait a minute. We do have Arnie from the Hookah Chamber of Commerce, and George Johnson, I do believe, will be joining us. So we got a star cast of people from all over the industry to discuss this topic. Take it away, Dr. Noobsauce.
All right. By the way, Matt, I just checked my phone. There is audio coming from the YouTube channel. By the way, Rima, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Rima, thank you so much. Can you explain to the people what it is you do?
I'm in-house counsel for Fumari, which is a hookah tobacco manufacturer and distributor in San Diego, California.
All right. So how did you get wrapped up? I'm assuming they acquired your services. So are you spearheading this along with Arnie and trying to cut off this bill? Can you well, let me go back a second. Can you explain in your own words how you perceive this bill?
So SB-38 was introduced by the Senate so California Senate, along with SB-39. SB-38 focused on basically a flavor ban, and in short, it's a bill that would prohibit tobacco retailers from selling, offering for sale, or possessing with the intent to sell or offer for sale a flavored tobacco product. So it basically shuts down flavored tobacco sales on a retail level. Now, this bill was introduced in accompaniment with SB-39, which actually lays out the framework for online sales. So if you almost like just by looking at it together, you see it as being an all-out ban of flavored tobacco on the retail level, and it's almost pushing sales onto online. And of course, the online part of it details like a multi-level age verification for anyone to purchase products, online. So, I first learned about this, and myself and a lot of people actually went to Sacramento for the Senate Health Committee hearing. I know that that was really where we first started learning a lot about the legislative process and what was going on. And we've learned, in short, that a lot of the people that were even on the Senate Health Committee this bill. Now,
hold on one second, Rima. We're getting a real bad echo. Is anyone else getting that?
Yeah, I'm getting that feedback.
Yeah, I'm getting an echo. You guys right now. Hold on one second. This is the problem when you have a lot of people on the mic. All right, try again, please.
Okay. Is it better?
No, but I think
a little better.
No, I don't know why we're getting such feedback.
Do you think it has to do with a lot of people, making use some of the mic?
I guess everyone else in the actual chat getting feedback from her as well.
Yeah, people in the chat are getting feedback.
So it's just
no feedback on my end. I had it muted listening, and now I was getting no feedback. So I will mute again.
Okay. Hold on one second.
Okay, better?
Yeah, just go ahead. I'm gonna keep messing with it on my end. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. So what we learned during Sacramento is that it was very clear during the health committee meeting that the real focus seems to be on underage usage of vape. And that it now the statistics came out that from between 2017 and 2018 there was an 80% increase in underage users on a high school level. And a 50% increase between 2017 and 2018 at a middle school level, totaling 3.6 million underage users of vape products. So that is really where a lot of the concern is the underage usage, mainly because a lot of vape devices are easy to conceal. And now they said it. The bathrooms at school are turning into what they call jewel rooms. Where during recess, that kids are in there vaping. And obviously our position on that is, and Senator Grove was the only senator on the health committee that opposed the bill. Was that if we can have the alcohol industry regulate in a way to keep or try to prevent minors from using their product, or if we can have a cannabis industry where we can regulate it and keep minors using that, why can't the tobacco industry figure out a way to regulate and to prevent underage usage? And I think that was a very strong and compelling point. Obviously, there must be other solutions than eliminating it altogether. I mean, there's a lot of 21 and over adults that now will be denied the opportunity to partake in flavored tobacco. Albeit only on online sales if this ban passed. And a lot of us believe that this is an overreach with regards to lawmaking. And to be honest, it's not necessary. I mean, if this does pass, a lot of us feel that they would just be encouraging a black market, which, as people in the black market are not going to be checking IDs, and they certainly aren't going to be making sure that all the additives or ingredients that are in these things are health and safety code regulated, up to par. So, it really is in the best interest for them to figure out a better solution. And there was although there were a lot of people opposing the bill, whether they were from vape or hookah, at the Senate Health Committee hearing, it was very clear that the people who drafted the bill and the people that support the bill are very organized. And there were several high school students. It felt like there was probably more like 50 to 100, high school students there with T-shirts on saying "Athletes don't vape." I mean, so they're organized, and they are kind of appealing to an emotional aspect that, hey, we need to save our kids. It's our job to save the children. However, as many of you may know, there are other ways to do it. They can make it illegal for minors to be in possession of tobacco products. I mean, already schools have taken a very hardline approach and, immediately suspend students who are caught with vape products. Mm-hmm. Juul has taken an even further proactive approach and taken certain flavors off the retail market and have exclusively sold them, online. I mean, obviously, there's a huge debate of whether flavors is actually what is even the cause for underage usage. I mean, there's a huge argument that it isn't. And so they're not attacking what the real problem is. And essentially, what everyone is saying is if you need to regulate it more on a retail level, then do so, but don't eliminate it.
Yeah.
Our position, and Pumari has actually taken a very proactive approach with working with Arnie at Hookah Chamber of Commerce. It's our intention to, and we have engaged with a lobbyist
and it's our intention to carve out a exception on a cultural aspect, so that because hookah has been around for thousands of years, and really, it would be attacking a cultural thing that we feel is just it would be hindered and have a chilling effect if this law or if this bill passes.
Now,
So,
from my
we're working
perspective,
closely with Hookah Chamber of Commerce to oppose this bill, and to be honest, we want more and more people to get informed and get involved because we need your help, to be honest. And if we could have a united voice and a united front, I think that that would only help our efforts.
now I understand. Like, do you feel that taking the stance from a cultural perspective is stronger than attacking it with facts head on? Being like, why can't we just self-regulate? Everything else self-regulates instead of being them taking the standpoint of like just doing away with everything altogether.
It's a good question. I feel that we appeal on a different level. I mean, because we brought up many points like, you're going to lose so much in taxes and revenue and lost jobs and, businesses, going out of business. And it doesn't seem like that makes much of an impact. Like, for whatever reason, all of these great points doesn't seem to make a very strong impact to the people that we've spoken to. And of course,
hi, Rima. Rima, is this?
Yeah.
Hi, I think this is Afrak. I'm on the call now. Sorry, I was in between things and just got this notice.
Well, I just want to introduce, this is Afrak Vargas. He is the lobbyist that Hookah Chamber of Commerce has engaged to basically champion our efforts. And, I'm sure Arnie can explain this more. He came highly recommended by people inside the legislation and, different senators and politicians that speak highly of Afrak and his not only his knowledge of how to champion these types of bills, but also his connections. He seems to know everybody and their sister, which is exactly what you want in this environment. You want to be able to leverage those relationships and connections in order to put pressure on the different senators or what have you, legislators, to create some change. But Afrak, if you want to speak on this point, go for it.
Go ahead, George.
Thank you, Rima.
Or whoever wanted to speak, just introduce yourself. And
sorry, I just joined as well, and I'm late to the party. Sorry if I missed Rima's recap of what's going on, but I'm here for any questions, and I'm glad Afrak has joined us as well.
All right, Afrak, can you introduce yourself and explain who you are and your stance on this?
Sure, of course. And is this a podcast discussion? I'm sorry, or is this just a conference call? I wasn't given the full background.
It is a podcast. We are trying to get the information out there to the people who are either not informed enough or misinformed.
Okay, great. Sorry that I can't be on the call too long. My name is Afrak Vargas. I've been in politics, ever since elementary school, actually. It was student government throughout school. I'm an activist by trade. I was president of Latino groups, MECHA, and others. I've done work for the Latino caucus and several legislators, and including stints for Tony Cardenas and Alex Padilla, where I've lived with each of them, and I consider them very close friends. So I was given that recommendation by a Valley legislator, and appreciate working with you guys very much. This is a very fascinating policy area. When we first heard about it, of course, we were all really surprised, and it seemed that their legislative intent was not to include anybody else, including that it was kind of accidental that they included pipes and flavored cigars and hookah tobacco.
Okay.
That is obvious not the case anymore. They knew what they were doing. The bill came about because of the vape pens and the jewels, and that's the initial intent of the bill. But the main proponents of the bill, which are the lung cancer and heart societies and associations are very, very smart. They have very, very deep, extensive political reach, and people, very smart, capable people working for them, and they know exactly what they're doing. They did their research. They did their research on you. They know exactly who you are, who everybody else on this call is, and it is not an accident that they came after you. They're using the excuse of Juul and the vape pens, but even as of recently, and probably because of some of the activism, some of the work, the advocacy work that we have done as a group, and then those of you that have been to Sacramento, including myself, that I live and work here, they are now including information on hookah in all of their packets when they talk about this legislation.
So, Afra, this is Jeremy Bird with Hookah University, and I know that Adrian has taken a hardline stance on this as well. Could this just be a case of bad parenting? You know, people not taking their responsibilities seriously when it comes to parenting?
You know what, I guess I wouldn't know. I mean, I think it's really easy to, even great parents, it's easy for their kids to become curious and to get to access these Juul pens. But what we need to be careful about is how closely we are identified singularly as just a tobacco issue. And so when the question was if we should focus on the cultural, historical aspect that hookah has been a part of, a central point of in many cultures and for many hundreds of years, and even going back to over 1,000 years. Or should we talk about that it is not as dangerous as cigarette tobacco, so talk about the differences, and I would strongly urge that we do not go the later route. These people, they don't care about your culture. They don't care how long you've been doing this. They don't care if kids aren't smoking hookah tobacco. They care about tobacco in any form and in all aspects. So we are not going to be able to win those folks over that are supporting this bill with an argument that, wait, our tobacco is FDA approved. Now, that we should present all those items, all those arguments, but it's not what's going to win the day ultimately. Ultimately, what is going to win the day is to show a strong organization, to show a grassroots movement of people that are greatly affected by this, and that is, of course, mostly the Middle Eastern community. Even though it is of course growing in interest and in popularity. Now you see the hookah pipe just in about every music video that you see on TV nowadays. But we've seen it. We've been in Sacramento. Arnie came a couple of weeks ago, and we made the rounds, and he probably thought that he was in some kind of a tornado, because that's how it is when you're at the Capitol. You just bump into a lot of people. You purposely chase them down, and we had several meetings, including meeting with the staffer, the main lead staffer of the bill. Who, Arnie, you want to talk about that meeting a little bit? Oh, it's star 6 to unmute, but I can. The gentleman is a staffer. He's a good young staffer. He is of Lebanese and Armenian descent. He knows about hookah. He knows the issue very well. We can't play the innocent here, because that is not the case. The way we have to acknowledge that this is how these interest groups see tobacco. They see you as dangerous, to tobacco as so dangerous that they need to take it from you regardless of the scenario. So the way to win is not through FDA and tobacco arguments. The way to win, as Rima mentioned, is to talk about the cultural and historical aspect. Arnie can tell you that we've already made some headway with some legislators just on that basis alone.
And what do you need? What is more support that you need in your eyes from the hookah community that would help this situation?
We need people to be active than participants of the Hookah Chamber of Commerce. We need people to send in some dues. We need people to become members and to get involved and sign up. Apart from that, we're in the very early stages, but we're organizing local meetings with legislators, and we want letters of opposition stating who you are, why you oppose. And now we will have that in the Facebook page, and we will have it available, I'm sure, at a website, and we'll send this to you so that you can relay this to your listeners.
Okay, that's awesome, because it's very important that, you know, people want to help. You know, once they get the information, people want to try to do what they can to help the situation, make it a better situation for everybody. So it's very important that we have ways that people can look on how to be a part of the solution. Very quickly, I saw George.
Chris, 1 second. AFRAC, is the Hookah Chamber of Commerce, you mentioned that, is that open to hookah smokers as well, or only people in the actual industry in California? Can you explain that a little more? Because I know that if people know they can be involved, they can donate to the cause, that they would. It's not clear right now.
Guys, Arnie here with Hookah Chamber. I'll take that question, AFRAC. Basically, what happened is, with the Hookah Chamber, George and I from Regal Tangiers were discussing it about a year ago, that things were looking bad, things are coming our way, and, you know, before we knew it, it was here. I mean, SAC passed the law, we didn't even blink, and it was done. And Hookah Chamber was basically born in order to represent the hookah industry as a whole. Now, we have resident members where, you know, participants, connoisseurs can join, and it's a smaller due annually, and basically contribute, whether it's a small financial. But the bigger picture is we need people to participate and get more involved in whether it's local politics or be more aware of their politicians, their representatives in their district. And little by little, we did one round with Adrian Nazarian, the assembly member here in North Hollywood, and it was a starting point for us. We thought he would be our champion because he is of Armenian descent. He got it. He understands our arguments. He understands our fight. But I don't think he would take us to the next level or would like to fight for us.
Yeah, Arnie, I have a question real quick, Arnie. Now, so you have a lot of people not only living in California, but other people throughout the United States who are, you know, they hang on every word you're saying, and they are worried, like, okay, well, it's only affecting this state. It doesn't affect me. What would you say to those people?
Well, if California goes, so goes everything else. California is, I would say, we're the connoisseur creators. I mean, not to brag about California, but whatever it is, San Diego has came, you know, Fumari, we have Tangiers, a lot of things. We are kind of the pioneers of the hookah industry, from the lounges, and I'm not saying there weren't one or two and different, you know, lounges or different hookah connoisseurs in different states, but California is a big chunk of the hookah industry as a whole.
Yeah, and I will agree with you on that. But, like, I live in New York City, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with things that already happen in New York City, but within the 5 boroughs within New York City, you cannot sell flavored tobacco already. This is nothing new.
For a long time.
Yeah, for a long time, and you can't have it in the lounges, but being a New Yorker, people say screw you to the rules. But the thing is, like, this is not something new for me per se, because I've lived in New York for so long, and I know how hard it is to buy stuff that you want in New York City. Online vendors is my only option, right? So
correct.
This is not new, and I will be the first person to tell you this has already happened in other states and will continue to happen. I think this is really good because it's vocal. And it's happening now in front of your eyes, so you can see the whole process in front of you right now. And it's very important for people to jump on what they're trying to do here to get the message out and try to be a part of the solution at this point.
Definitely. What happened was the hookah industry did not, I mean, yes, we have a few hookah, you know, groups on Facebook. Everybody goes and, you know, we do what we do from YouTube channels, but there was no organization to represent, you know, the hookah industry. Now, you guys could have a New York chapter of the Hookah Chamber and represent us there and unite the people in the New York area, East Coast, you know, and I think we need to mobilize the participants, the industry. We need to become an industry. We need to have an organization that represents the industry and is respected by politicians. Politicians are afraid of money and votes. Once they see that, hey, these people can tilt my election, whether through finances or through votes, then they're going to listen to us. And we have to become a force that's not to be reckoned with. We want to be able to walk in, and with Afrak walking with his head up high at the Capitol, not by, oh, this newborn baby, hookah chamber is trying to make noise, but, hey, there comes this beast, let's get out the way, or let's listen to what they're saying, or else they're going to make our lives, a living hell.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
My thing is with the states that have already been affected, you guys have figured out a way to maneuver, or you have no other choice but to buy online. Now, once they get one piece of us, then next deal that's being presented is you can't even order online. Just like the gun laws, you can't even have anything coming in.
Yeah.
So little by little, I think their intent is to choke the industry, or if their intent is for the vape industry, they're bundling us in there because they could care less about us.
Yeah.
So from out-of-state people, I would say just helping us fight the fight, whether it's through votes, signatures, participation, and out-of-state individuals may also contact, California elected officials, because if you're buying Tangiers, even though Tangiers moved out from San Diego, they still have a big following in LA, for example, or San Diego itself, or Fumari's out of San Diego. Now, yes, everybody can move to a different state, but what does that really mean for the industry?
This is Afrak again, and the other thing for your listeners is, if you're just a connoisseur and you really like it at home, yes, there is still something that you can do. In your own city, in your own home, in your own province, state, every county government, every state, and what have you, get to know your local politicians and invite them to your lounge. Invite them to go and see what this is, so that, because all of these, I don't care if you're a state senator in Albany, New York, or if you're a city council member in Houston, you eventually probably very much want to move up through the political process. So don't be afraid of politicians, and talk to them, set a meeting, and invite them down. Invite them to your local hookah area and show them that this is something show them the culture, show them the history. It's living and breathing through everybody that has been doing it, because it's been passed down for generations.
Yeah, that's interesting. I want to open it up to some of the other guests we have here. I really appreciate what you guys are saying. George Johnson, since you're on my screen, I would like to get your take on all of this. And now you've been heavily involved in this, and a lot of people mention you when they mention this bill. Can you explain to us what the bill means to you and how it affects you?
So there's a multitude of bills, and I do think that Afrak, being a limited time, he's a giant resource, so hopefully we can get him to speak more before he has to leave. But I don't know what Rima has covered. There's federal bills, too, that are coming around, proposals. They're not likely to go through, the most notable being that the one Mitch McConnell presented 2 weeks ago to the federal, on Congress's side. It's HR 2339. That will eliminate online sales and raise the federal age to 21. So these states that are saying you can't have retail sales in, a flavored tobacco, but you can still go online, like our SB-38, then they're basically doing away with it if they get rid of online, what they call remote or satellite sales online.
So they're basically trying to lay the groundwork now to see what they can get passed through, to then have a precedent to pass the bigger bill.
Well, everything is written really broadly on the state side. We also are losing cities. Like I knew about, the 5 boroughs going a long time ago. San Francisco and other cities have been passing bans on hookah lounges and putting more restrictions on retailers. Sacramento just fell for us. Beverly Hills has gone tobacco free as of next year, so you won't even be able to sell cigarettes or cigars.
Wow.
Yeah. So the writing's on the wall that stuff's coming to us, and I've been doing this my whole life, and I'm not gonna go without a fight. So the Hookah Chamber of Commerce was, Arnie and I talked about it a year ago, and here it is. We got to do it. We should have started work earlier.
George, how does it affect you as not only a sales rep for Tangiers Tobacco, but also as a pipe manufacturer with Regal Hookah? Does it affect you at all on the pipe side as well as the tobacco side?
Oh, most definitely. We have a lot of customers that are lounges. Our Armenian portion of the valley is a good chunk of my demand. As far as my retail guys and my lounges, it's a good chunk. The way that the bill has a provision in it that says the apparatus for smoking flavored tobacco products would also be prohibitive for retail sale. So it's not just that they're going to get rid of flavored tobacco. We're going to have to relabel our pipes for non-flavored tobacco purposes only, or do like most people used to have to do for marijuana and say, this isn't a bong, this is a tobacco pipe. Well, sorry, this isn't a tobacco pipe, this is a bong. Like, we completely have to go reverse directions to be legally compliant to sell it. So they might consider the name hookah as paraphernalia.
And would that affect you in the entire United States if you had to rebrand your pipes that way?
I probably wouldn't. I would probably just,
I'm saying for the argument's sake, if you had to within California, would that also affect your business globally, or at least within the United States where these...
California is a large chunk of my business. It's the largest market in the country. And I mean, definitely, yeah, Brazil takes every Regal I could ever make. But, I like to keep myself rooted here and having demand and recognition in the industry in America.
So not only are they hurting, tobacco, they're hurting American industry, American-made products.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a federal bill that Rima just told me about on limiting. No, or was it Eric who just told me a minute ago? Sorry, I was late on the phone. About importing tobacco on a federal side. So you could be facing other forms of legislation down the road in importing any of the non-domestically made tobaccos, right? And with the FDA regulations that we're already jumping through and the proposed online bans, the Hookah Chamber of Commerce should have been here and stronger a long time ago. So hopefully we can make this a national effort. I mean, just because we're starting in California, because Arnie and I are here in California, doesn't mean that we don't want chapters and support from the rest of the country. We're going to
absolutely. I mean, I think that I've approached my contacts within Drew Estate, who is a cigar manufacturer, and asked them questions regarding the Bill 239 that you spoke about a moment ago. And they are taking it very seriously, because not only do they do regular cigars, but they have a huge, if you were a cigar guy, they have a huge flavored cigar market. And it's not even a flavored cigar, it's infused.
Yep. I mean, that's where there's a lot of other people getting involved. I mean, beyond Juul being the focus of people's scorn here in California, people are passing, prohibitive stuff for roll your own and the blunt wraps. There's rules going through that say you can't sell cigars in packs less than 5. Well, that's specifically targeting, backwoods and whatever they're called, Swisher Sweets and stuff like that. There's a lot of little things that people are doing to affront tobacco on all fronts. Afrek is right. They're not coming after us because we're hookah or anything. They're coming after all tobacco. And he is right that once we started pushing back and making ourselves known, they started releasing pamphlets and going after hookah. So they are paying attention to us. We're causing a little bit of waves. Arnie and I and a few other people met with that representative in the Valley on Friday, and he's a co-sponsor of SB-38, and he didn't read the bill. He had no idea what he was talking about. And because Arnie and him have bad blood, I did most of the talking. And I feel like I think we talked circles around the guy. He just said, "Okay, that's great. I'll have to look into that, or we'll get back to you on that, or let's just continue the conversation." Basically, I don't know, punting it down the road. These politicians are giving a lot of signing their names on a lot of these legislations just to say to their constituents and their parents, like, we're doing something about it. But a lot of it's lip service. A lot of these proposals are not going to make it see the light of day. A lot of these things are a lot of fear mongering, but we still need to be there to fight it, and we need representation. Otherwise, we'll go the way of the dinosaur, or we'll all be done under the table.
That's interesting.
I think I have a question for the group.
Okay.
So a lot of people in the chat right now are asking, hey, how can we be more involved besides just Facebook? They want to know how they can contact and set up chapters in Texas, in their own states and cities, so they can get the word out, and what resources are available to them so that they can speak on the subject aside from just the Facebook groups.
I believe Arnold could chime in on that. He's going to be doing our website, right?
Yeah. So, guys, basically, right now, from my research, I'm a web developer by trade, and the best way to get ourselves organized is to have a solid website where people could log in to, get the updates, sign up as a member, find out the latest from AFRAC, from our attorneys, and also to begin, chapters. And we'll start assigning whoever wants to do it, please get in touch with me. It's info@hookahchamber.com or arnoldabramian@gmail.com. Or you could call me anytime, 818-355-1333, 818-355-1333. And we can, get you signed up and figure out how we could get you set up. And we're basically in the beginning stages of organizing, and as we get more organized, more flyers, more letters, everything will be better structured and available online from the back end for the representatives and our chapters that are born in different states.
So, and I haven't talked to Arnold about this, but I'm sure that on the website and things that we're doing, you can see the links that we're posting to contact representatives here in California. We'd love you guys to do the same thing. Reach out to your local representatives, and there's usually a website where all the public access and information. You can comment on bills. You can write letters. There's addresses to do things. You digitally you can do all that stuff. But Rima and I were talking earlier this morning about we are making flyers to put in they are. Fumari's making flyers to put in the packaging to all the distributors and retailers in California. And we need to discuss the verbiage on how, I'm not a marketing person, so, like fight for your right, save flavored tobacco in California. I'd like to get everybody to chime in and at least, you can always Facebook Messenger me, you can text me, you can email me, but, in the next 24 hours, we need to pull the trigger on getting, a catchy slogan. We need a slogan is what I'm saying. So,
all right, we'll put a competition out there and see if we can get a catchy slogan. I want to get some more thoughts from, let's get Shams and, you still in here, bud? Where you at? Unmute you.
Still here.
There you go.
Still
all
here,
right.
buddy.
So, if you and Steve could chime in on how the bill affects you, and what are your thoughts on it?
Give me 1 second. Yeah, so basically this bill, if it passes, like in California is not a really big market to us since we're a company that distributes in over 23 countries. But still, like the exposure of California and the American market and worldwide is very important to us. And I mean, once this bill passes, our concern is that not only hookah tobacco and people behind hookah, like hookah lounges are going to be affected, but also it's the whole industry in California, and after that in the United States, the whole tobacco industry that is going to be affected. You're talking about, you're looking at hookah lounges, smoke shops that gonna lose basically their living. So this is our concern, and we're trying to team up with everyone in the community to fight these bills, and we'll see what's gonna happen after that.
All right, Steve, what's your input on this as well, being from Zoomret? Let's see, get Steve on here real quick. What are your thoughts on it, and how does it affect you as well?
In terms of numbers, actually, as Shams said, it's just 5% for us. But in terms of effect, especially what do we care in California? California is the beginning. If it passed through, it will pass through whole state. Even in the near future, I mean, all the states will follow the California. That's why it's very important. And if it is affected whole United States, it will affect whole countries, and it will affect our business. Actually, we as a company, we are in business, in tobacco business, more than 20 years. We use the regulations, we use the laws, we use the customs, taxes, all the problems, but the banning just makes the product illegal. It will not stop selling. I mean, there are always ways to sell the product if there is a demand. And that's why the government or the officials, they should understand that if they try to ban it, it will be illegalized.
Gotcha.
And in terms of the industry, the chamber is the most important part. We have to unite. We have to fight against this bill, because this is just the beginning. If we win this war, the bigger one will come, and if we begin again, the bigger one will come. So we have to come unite. We have to be together. We have to stand together, and if we stand together, if they see the numbers in terms of money, in terms of taxes, in terms of votes, and in terms of unity, so they cannot beat us.
So as far as uniting and kind of creating a united front for hookah companies, tobacco companies in California, especially because that's where this is starting, what are the challenges that you all have faced as far as uniting these smoke shops, these distributors, these online retailers, these manufacturers thus far?
Arnie here with Hookah Chamber. I'm actually meeting with Isa from Al Fakhr tomorrow because he recommended that we bring in 2 lobbyists, and he wanted to meet in person and discuss some options available. So tomorrow I have a little more updates on how Al Fakhr is deciding to proceed with basically the uniting efforts. They do agree we should all come together. However, everybody has an opinion of, hey, I know a lobbyist, that's good. I know an attorney, that's good. So we're still in the conversation stages and working together. So the best thing to do is to keep an open eye and open ear to each other, And I know as just an organizer and an organization representative, not just for Hookah Chamber, of multiple other ones, it's important that we all learn to communicate. And if anyone has any questions, whether it be finances, whether it be verbiage, talk to me, talk to whoever you have a concern with, so we don't end up falling apart, because I do know the Middle Eastern culture has trust issues and, doubts. People have doubted us. Oh, it's not going to work. Why are you even wasting your time?
Yeah, can't you see that having multiple lobbyists, multiple lawyers, and people having vested different interests hurt the overall narrative? If we're not on the same page, people can be saying the wrong message or changing the message from company to company. Are you guys worried about that?
I can speak more to the conversations between all the manufacturers. I've talked to Wael from Starbuzz, talked to Danny from Hayes. Of course, I talk to Eric almost every day, and there's a lot of different ideas and people getting pulled in different directions. And we also have to think that SB-38 is being challenged in a lot of ways, from blunt wraps, from cigarette companies that are going to lose menthol cigarettes. Although I do believe that'll probably be the first exemption. But there's, the vape industry is putting a lot of money in different lobbyists. There's a lot of different hands at play here. And I think that our best bet in the hookah industry is differentiating ourselves. I don't wish any ill will upon them. I don't disagree that their arguments are really valid arguments. The way that they're approaching it is Juul is approaching it from a self-regulation and their self-imposed restrictions. A lot of the other people are doing that, proposing here's the regulations that the government should be putting through. And I like those regulations as well. Increasing civil penalties, making an ID check system, removing it from gas stations and liquor stores. There's a lot of great things being said. But as far as us with the hookah chamber, I believe that vape, if it falls, it's so big, we need to step to the left and not be part of vape.
Yeah.
We wish vape people all the best of the world. I mean, really, I talked to some of the bigger players in LA, the larger wholesalers. They're throwing a lot of money in it. We lost 2 of the biggest distributors in LA. They're going with the vape lobbyist. And I said, I'm not offended. It's okay. I wish you guys the best of luck. There is multiple angles to attack this at. And as long as we keep in touch, I think it's great. We do need to keep in touch. But and speaking for the hookah chamber, I believe that there has to be people speaking for us, but also speaking in the right narrative,
Yeah, basically in unison, where we all convey still the same message and not get it too off base.
Exactly. And people that bring up the freedom thing a lot, I'm sorry, that's not really a really valid argument to most politicians. I mean, they've already banned flavored cigarettes in 2009. They banned BDs. When I was a teenager, we smoked BDs until they banned them. Personal freedoms is the first thing that everybody wants to argue about. I'm like, come on, guys. That's, I'm Japanese American. We know about personal freedoms. You don't have it, and it's an illusion. So, and the second argument is tax revenue. In a state like California, and right now with the economy being so good and low unemployment rates, like best unemployment rates in 50, 60 years, it's not like they care about that revenue. They also argue that the offset in the tax basis for tobacco-related illnesses that aren't paid for, that the taxpayer picks up, that it's a net loss, that we're hoisting off all the tax burden to all the medical costs to the taxpayer.
I definitely understand that. It's a hard thing to go with any single point. I think one of the best bets you can do is probably just try to get as much information that supports your claim, that helps you out, and just go with it with that. But since I'm having mic issues with the YouTube channel, I'm gonna let Matt continue the roundtable here, or Matt or Adrian to continue the roundtable to still get more opinions. I don't think Zoomerette was done talking there. I think I don't know where he went. He's still here. Steve, you're still here, Steve? I'm gonna let Matt take over for the audio, so he's not having quite as many issues. So go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, hi, this is Matt from the AM Hookah podcast. Thanks for being a part of this and joining us and helping us in this fighting this battle and trying to educate us and trying to see what it is that we can do to better deal with these sorts of problems and stuff. We've talked about it a little bit obviously already, but you as someone that's a part of a brand and really trying to continually produce and sell your products to people that are allowed to smoke your products, what do you think are some of the things that we can do when it comes to education of either young people or maybe the people that are purchasing that may not have the best knowledge that are causing these sorts of spikes in, underage smoking, especially, if lounges are allowing younger age than they're supposed to come into their places and smoke there, obviously that can cause a problem. Is there something that we can do to really help with brands and with this whole fight in general to try and say, hey, this isn't right for multiple reasons, and besides the fact that you keep doing this, they might take it away, but how can we help with that fight to make sure that the right people are enjoying this hobby and not the people that shouldn't? Steve, or if Chams want to take that, either one.
Shams?
Did you hear that, John? All right. If we could maybe possibly move on to maybe Ronald, who has a lounge, Ronald and Neve, who possibly have to deal with this sort of thing on a more regular basis. Did you hear the question that I asked Ronald?
Yes, I want to make a comment on that really quick. I was actually just talking to George a few weeks ago when we were down with him. We see it. We're hitting almost the 3rd-year mark on the law changing from 18 to 21 and up in California, and I am continuously seeing new lounges popping up all over California and blatantly advertising 18 and up. And I talked to George about this, and I talked to the owner of this lounge. I messaged her, and I was like, I explained the laws, and these laws try and say that it's a gray shaded area by serving hydro herbal or heavenly for these non-tobacco products. But I explained to her that under FDA law or under the FDA regulations, the hookah pipe itself is considered a tobacco product. So it doesn't matter at that point what you are smoking out of the pipe. It is illegal to have anyone under 21 in your lounge. It doesn't matter if they're smoking tobacco or hydro herbal. And we need to come together on this problem and educate these lounge owners. And if they're unwilling to be educated, like this certain person was, we should start reporting them. And that's what I've been doing, because at that point, they're only hurting our business, and they don't care. They're in it for the quick money. So
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues is that as far as smoke shops and lounge owners, there is a lot of them in California, but only probably a very small percentage that actually know what is going on, that are actually involved in the industry, and like probably 90% of these shops and lounge owners don't even know that these laws are going to take place. They do things illegally because unfortunately they are owned by Middle Easterns, and the hard thing is to kick that old mentality of Middle Easterns that you have to abide by the law of the land. You're in the United States of America. You cannot do illegal things. And those are the people that unfortunately got us to this point. Alongside of what Rima, Arnie, and Mr. Vargas had said earlier, and even George touched up on, which is the fact that I lost my train of thought here. It's okay. We'll scrap that idea. The way we can get these lounges and these shops is through these distributors and wholesalers, so we can get them on our page, explain to them, educate them, have them posted in their lounge or in the smoke shop. Make sure that they follow the law. Make sure that they get signatures. Make sure that they educate people.
So Ron, as you said, and Neve, about reporting lounges that are clearly violating the law when they are even educated. Who would you report somebody to? At what point is that necessary to protect our interests as a hookah community, your interests as a lounge owner, and everybody in California who's going to be affected by those kind of infractions?
That's part of the amendment that George, Arnie, and Mr. Vargas, everybody's working on, even the Fumari lawyer, Rima. You have to have bullet points. You have to understand the law to know how to, not to attack it, but you have to understand the language of the law, what they're trying to do and why, and kind of oppose those points. And not only oppose, but you got to tell them you got to give them solutions. Okay, they're not going to listen to you if you tell them, oh, hey, you know what, hookah smoking is not as bad as cigarettes. Okay, we know that. The facts are there, whatever. They don't care about that. They want solutions. They're attacking a specific argument of underage kids getting their hands on vape. So one of the points per se is hookah cannot be carried with you anywhere. It takes a good 15, 20 minutes to set up a hookah. You cannot take it anywhere. Take it out of gas stations. I don't want them selling neither vapes or tobacco for hookah. Make it specific to lounges and to smoke shops.
You feel like maybe they can make some type of like license in order to sell this stuff, so you're like a authorized dealer or something like that.
100%. I mean, why not? Based on what Rima and Mr. Vargas and everybody that spoke before me, it seems like it's almost like a losing fight, and it kind of puts you in a depression, because you read a little bit and you see San Francisco, they still, some lounges are still open. So they're not forcing you per se. They're not telling you, hey, you know what, you're done, you're shut down. But they are cutting back on your possible income. So you are hurting income-wise, profitability-wise, to a certain point to where if you're decreasing your revenue, you're going to shut down. You're going to say, what the hell, shut it down. Might as well. You're putting all these hours for no money at the end of the day. So we have to present solutions to see if they will listen. Self-governance is one of them. We talked about that with George. From my reading on these SB-38 and 739, they're saying that, and my understanding of it, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but the people that are already in play right now, they will be grandfathered in, and then anybody that wants to open up afterwards, most likely they won't let them.
That was only for Sacramento. That wasn't for the whole state.
Exactly. So you have different laws in different states and different cities that you don't know where to start. The only person that can really know these things is Arnie and Mr. Vargas, and obviously Rima, that is the Fumari lawyer. They know how to attack these things, but we gather ourselves, just like George has said and took the lead, is that we gather ourselves and we help them with ideas. We help them by uniting each other so that they can fight the fight for us.
So moving on from that a little bit, I also want to ask John and bring him into this as well. John, obviously one of the, I mean, I don't have numbers or anything, but I would imagine one of the larger providers of hookah in the United States. And then obviously you come directly out of California, and obviously legislation like this has a huge possibility of ending anything that you're doing. So when it comes to the legislation and trying to figure out a good way to get away from it and to stop it from hurting our culture and stuff, not only the education of teaching the people that need to be able to do this on an appropriate age for wherever they may be from and stuff, what are some of the things that you've seen actually pass through over time? Before, back in the day, you were able to jump onto a hookah website, order stuff, and not really have to verify your age in some way. But over the last, I'd say maybe 2 years or so, there's been age verification systems put in place. So regardless of where you're ordering from, you still have to prove your actual age. What kind of other things do you think would possibly help in a fight like this, or ways that you could even help in that fight as well?
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me on. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So, yeah, I am obviously involved in all of this, meaning I will be affected just as all the different types of companies, whether they're hookah tobacco brands, hookah lounges, hookah stores, and being in the online. Yes, this may not affect me right away, but it will eventually, and I'm really concerned with it. As far as doing anything about it, I haven't been proactive. I've been watching what's going on so that I can offer any type of assistance that I can. So what I can do to pledge with that, I want to let the professionals do what they're doing, because back to you brought it up, the regulation has just been going on and on since I started 11 years ago, with credit card processing issues, with getting verification systems in, and we have to pay a lot of money for these things. I think our bill is like $800 a month just to verify people, which is it's a big chunk of profit. Now, what I can offer whoever's in charge is my social media following, email lists, and even at the Hookah Expo Worldwide, which is in 3 months from now, we can set up a booth for the Hookah Chamber and have them there with whatever literature they want. They'll have another audience. So basically my audience is at their disposal. And I'd like to just make sure they don't hesitate to ask, and I can spread any type of information that they want to a significant audience that's out there.
John, speaking of Hookah Expo Worldwide, have you thought about using that huge stage that we all enjoyed last year to maybe have some kind of seminar or just some kind of information given to such a huge hookah smoking population that will be in one space, so that people that don't know, maybe people that might not see this, they can have information and know what's going on, how this will affect them eventually, even if they're not in California?
Right. Well, that's why instead of having it on the stage, we can have them as a participating, well, not a participating vendor, but have them with their own booth with all their signage and banners and literature that they want. So they'll be there the entire time rather than any specific time on a stage, and they'll be very visible and be able to distribute their information there.
That's good. I think that obviously one of the big things that we can do in this is definitely the education. Many people know about this sort of stuff as possible, because the only way you can combat this sort of stuff is with better information. We actually had a question quite a bit earlier from the AM Hookah chat, and one of the things that was stated in it was a question. They wanted to know if there's ever been, and I would imagine maybe this would be a better question for the lawyer Rami, was that your name? I apologize if I'm completely butchering that, or somebody else possibly, if you have any information about this, about any sort of actual studies that have ever taken place that show that there's an actual a connection between just hookah, shisha smoking, and any sort of cancer. Because one of the things that happens so often inside of hookah is that it gets lumped into cigarette smoke or cigar smoke so quickly, in the fact that it doesn't allow it to have two separate narratives in any capacity. Because it is tobacco, instantly they assume that everything has to deal with purely the same exact things, where I think the majority of us at least believe that it is different than just the regular cigarette smoke. But I was wondering if there's ever been any actual studies that actually show that there is a connection between shisha and cancer. Is there any full studies on that at all? The question was asked by Jesse inside of the chat of the AM Hookah. Does anybody know of any studies like that? Passing it on to anybody that may know.
Sure.
Hello,
this is Arnie.
Rima from Samari. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Go ahead, Rima. Go ahead.
Arnie, do you want to go first?
Go for it.
Well, I did want to just mention, so this is Rima from Samari, and one of the things that I asked the very same question, like, okay, well, let's see what the studies are. And there's false information that's circulating, something like, if you smoke a hookah, it's like smoking 100 cigarettes. But these studies are unfounded and completely, I believe, untrue. But what we have been noticing is that a lot of the studies that we are seeing somehow groups other tobacco products, such as like vape or like hookah tobacco, with other types of tobacco products. So there is I haven't seen a study that breaks out hookah by itself. And to be honest, because they're grouping hookah with other tobacco products, we're getting kind of lumped in with other type of combustible, hookah products. I mean, tobacco products. So to be honest, there is no clear study that breaks out hookah that I've seen. Although the one good thing that I've also seen is that even the FDA has taken a very clear position with regards to hookah and underage, because the big talk is and the whole reason why I think this is even happening is because of this almost like fear mongering and scare about underage usage. And the one good thing is that the FDA has made a very clear statement that they do not, even they in their own studies, do not see the threat of underage usage increasing with hookah tobacco usage. And they have not seen any information to support that underage usage with hookah has increased. So that was very actually comforting to see that such a huge government agency would take that position. And I would love to use that as a part of our argument that even the FDA, which is very conservative and very pro health and safety, took that position with regards to hookah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Arnie.
One thing just to add on to what Rima said, I have been doing a lot of research, and that's the reason why I think having a solid website is going to guide a lot of people to our website once we do our search engine optimizing and everybody uses their networks to get our word out. And thank you, John, for offering us such a great opportunity. What they are, some of the things I've read is what they are saying is just because the tobacco and the flavor get filtered through water does not mean that it does not cause cancer. Now, the actual smoke gets cooled down so you don't have the burn, but like the throat hit, I guess you would call it also. But at the end of the day, they are saying, yes, smoking hookah does, contain toxins that could cause cancer. Now, there are no solid studies from Harvard, I don't think, and I haven't been able to get my hands on that we could say, hey, it does or it doesn't. But what they are saying is it is a risk, because just because it's cooled down, it doesn't mean the chemicals aren't getting through to your body. Now, FDA has they came out and said that, the pipe tobacco is not a risk for children. That is a big plus for us. But my concern is politicians don't care, and that was the first thing we saw with the assembly member, and half of them don't even remember the bill number. And if they remember the bill number, they don't even remember who co-authored it or who authored it even. So it's kind of like walking into a hookah lounge or walking into a restaurant and wanting to eat something, and you say, well, what's on the menu? They say, you know what? I really don't remember that. I forgot what we serve here, but what do you like to eat? What is your concern? What are you here for? That's the vibe I got, and unfortunately, that's how it is in the politics arena. Everybody wants to be everybody's friend. And if there's a positive bill or a health concern bill, people want to put their names on it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can ourselves fund a study. If anybody from our groups or the chat groups know anyone or any reputable sources that we could reach out to and ask, any Harvard universities, anywhere that we could actually say, hey, can you guys do this study for us? And we'll even be the study dummies or however you want to word it.
Yeah, I think that part of that also falls into a tough place about trying to educate with truths and not hashtag fake news and all that kind of stuff, because it can be difficult to really try to lay out what it is that's really being studied or pushed or trying to be explained. There are you cannot, and a lot of people do this. A lot of people will share a video that they find on YouTube, and the famous one with the fake lung, right, where they take 100 cigarettes, they put it up against it, they use an air compressor, and they suck all the smoke, and then they also let a hookah run for like an hour or whatever on the same thing, and they compare the amount of tar that's caught inside of a bunch of cotton balls. That's a great experiment that you can do for a science fair, but it's not a legitimate science experiment that actually helps in any possible way. I want to make this very clear, and maybe I'm just kind of like going off and ranting for a second, so I apologize, but like nothing you share on your Facebook wall that is not actually prominently helping in some sort of legal capacity. George Johnson, thank you for so much for all the things that you're sharing, everything that's happening in the hookah chamber as well. Those things are actual legitimate pieces of information that can be used to further the education and also further what it is that we're trying to do, because the reality is it's kind of like what was said earlier about like talking about freedoms, right? Like, I'm sorry, but in America, you're only as free as the bills that get passed, and that's the reality. So if you would like to be free, then we need to stand behind the bills that we want to see actually get pushed correctly. And I know that we have a bad mind frame at times that will kind of drive us in a position that will make us feel like our vote doesn't matter or our voice doesn't matter, but that only weakens and hurts us more and more each time. So, my next kind of thing driven, I guess, by that little thing that I said, it's kind of directed to George a little bit, is about that kind of proper information. If there's a place that you know of that we can really go to and grab these sorts of things to really educate people and drive them to either where they need to go to vote or where they need to go to call their congressperson, that's an important thing too. These things we don't want to see pass in other states, we have to allow the people in our own states to know that we don't want to see this happen. And what are some ways we can do that, George?
So definitely we want to get the hookah chamber up to that speed where we're posting that information for them. The studies that have been done about hookah in the past are completely spurious, and they're underhanded. The 100 cigarette thing was based on volume. So, I mean, if you're talking volume, it doesn't matter. Anyway, beyond those studies, I do think that we do need to watch our verbiage and the way that we present ourselves to people. It is tobacco. It is smoking. There is no such thing as a safe smoke. There's no such thing as cancer-free anything, right? Being around a campfire is just as dangerous, if not worse, but we need to be level-headed about it. And people aren't going to listen to us if we're going to sit here and say, well, it doesn't cause cancer. You're not going to convince the public of that. And you won't convince me of things not being carcinogens. I mean, you can't eat, the CDC put processed meats in the same category risk as smoking for colon cancer. Your increase in cancer rates for everything in the fucking world causes cancer. Okay, so you can't be unreasonable and try to disprove links between cancer and tobacco. People will not buy that.
Right. I don't think the best way to fight this is to go the avenue of trying to fight that this is a safer alternative necessarily to something like cigarettes, right?
Yeah, I mean, Juul is definitely doing a good case on that. So let Juul do that. I mean, they've put tons of money into studies. I mean, yeah, it's only been a good, 7-8 years of any sort of, data that they've been gathering, and it doesn't help that Altria, bought into 35% of Juul at the beginning of the year, because it just makes the vape industry look like big tobacco. Whereas to be able to point their fingers and say, hey, we're getting people off of cigarettes.
Yeah, I have a question here, Jordan. George, is menthol categorized with the flavors that they're banning?
In California, yes, menthol is included.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a question now. We have a plethora of people here, so anybody that wants to pick this question up, please, provide your input. But my question is, how do we hold ourselves more accountable to laws like this? Because basically the law is saying we are, hookah and vape tobacco and stuff is targeting kids. How do we hold tobacco manufacturers and other people, lounges and stuff, to prevent them from saying that, hey, maybe your ad or maybe your logo or whatever it may be is advertising towards kids? Can we move away from that and give them advice or whatever, the answer may be, and move them away from being like, hey, that looks like it's advertising for kids? Is there something in place? Is there something that we can do as a community to hold people more accountable to that stuff?
So I think something that is kind of. I apologize. Go right ahead.
Go ahead. This is Arnie. Just to give you guys a heads up, we have had multiple conversations with a few manufacturers and everybody else that's something Hookah Chamber will do an outreach on as well, suggesting that, hey, certain names are attracting younger kids or are going to cause trouble with politicians, so let's try to not make it a certain way. Or if we're going to put fruits and certain things, we might just do what Tangiers does, name it, number them, or maybe just write the name on it, and be more just solid. Don't eat the animation, don't eat the fruit names, and hope for the best in that sense, so we could self-regulate ourselves and show the world or our politicians and the constituents that, hey, we are self-regulated, we are putting best practices forward, and we do care about the children.
Do you also think that what could possibly help is something like, if you look at overseas to tobacco manufacturing, they put like these really crazy, horrifying graphics on their stuff. Do you think that if we come to the table with something along those lines, it will be showing goodwill around self-regulating?
I mean, it's a little extreme, but go ahead.
Arnold, I talked to a few people about concessions to be made, so that when we're talking to representatives, I know what I can reasonably offer them. If you think about the hookah tobacco market, I mean, there's probably only a dozen real players here in the U.S., right? And so I'm sure that we can negotiate things like getting cartoons off of packaging, changing the language and the coloring. But there's a lot of things that like Eric from Tangiers is saying, I won't do that, or I'm not going to do that. And that being said, getting back a little bit further to the self-regulation part, we can do what we can in the industry as industry, business people. But on the personal side of it, reporting lounges, putting pressure on anybody who's selling to minors. I gave a little bit of a impromptu talk at Expo last year about that. If we're going to survive as a business, we need to class it up a little bit. The cigar lounges are not coming under fire, and they're getting exemptions from tobacco bans all over. They're never put under the gun because we're not as classy or as powerful or as well respected in the community. We have to class it up. Our lounges can't be fake hookah lounges that people 18 plus kids pretend like they're drinking at, right? You're buying bottle service, fake you're buying Martinelli's and smoking hookah, and then people get in fights, and then there's police burdens, and
Yeah, it's not going to help that any senator or government body can quickly Google hookah lounges, and the first thing that's going to come up in the hookah lounges, hey, there's a shooting at a hookah lounge, or underage getting arrested at hookah lounges, or this hookah lounge is being banned for fights or something like that. We don't have good press. There's no good press that we have, and if you Google hookah lounges, it's not going to be a pretty picture. If you're not sitting down with these senators and these lawmakers to show them what it's about, because if they take it upon themselves, they're not going to be impressed, because we haven't been regulating ourselves for so long.
Well, it seems like, to me, hookah has always been lumped in with somebody or lumped in with some industry. And I know Travis wanted to say this, but I know we have George here right now. But, what I want to say is, George, do you remember in the early 2000s when they just lumped hookah in as a bong? And now they want to loop us in with, the tobacco industry. Now they want to loop us in with, vape. And it's just like this pass back and forth. Let's just have fun with these guys. And these are people that aren't even reading the bill that they're co-sponsoring.
Mm-hmm. We're a really small industry. We're such a small blip on the map of the whole tobacco market and smoking market. People still say, "Oh, electronic hookah." No, that's vaping. Stop calling it electronic hookah, please.
Mm-hmm. George and Arnie, I have a question as far as the self-regulation. We were just talking about certain flavor names probably being problematic, and we're not going to call anybody out by name, obviously, but there are a few brands that have packaging that is definitely used to market to a very young audience abroad. And how do you guys see a way to talk to those type of brands that, hey, you're not helping, you're hurting? And how do you make an effective argument against their marketing strategy that way? Because it's something that we as a community have discussed privately and publicly, that we don't like it either when people are making packaging that is what we deem very easily misconstrued as marketing toward children.
Well, unfortunately, people like Hayes, when I spoke to Danny, are kind of giving up on the U.S. market. So they don't want to contribute to Hookah Chamber of Commerce because, they've moved to Spain and they saw this coming. They couldn't get FDA grandfathered because they were too new of a company. So a lot of those guys don't really care, but we're still seeing the effects of their products coming in. So it'd be very hard to regulate.
Some of them, I just want to reiterate, are brand new, or they've been here for only a short amount of time, and they actually use this kind of marketing in their own home countries because they go for a very young audience, and it is making us look very bad.
Yeah, it'd be really difficult to enforce imports. I can enforce I can talk to domestic people, but international, I have no pull.
Of course, I just wanted to ask that question because it's something that we see and we're like, holy crap, these guys, you're making us look really bad here when we're fighting hard to have a classy industry where it's not like some state senator says, oh, well, look at this packaging. You can tell they're marketing to children.
I mean, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to stand up in a group in front of their peers when they're arguing the case, and they're going to have a bunch of cork boards or whatever of all these pictures. And that's going to influence other members easily. Now, is John Nador still here? Who, John?
Yeah, looks like I'm here.
All right, bud. Listen, we want to know if you have any more from your own brain. Do you have any questions or any more insight you can give us on? Maybe you have an idea other than the Hookah Expo Worldwide, because eventually there's going to be the Hookah Expo Worldwide. It's going to be a great platform to get people on, but eventually we're going to be past that, and we're going to be in this middle ground where we don't have a platform. What do you think is the best way to continue this fight and get this information out there? You think it would be because we don't have like what I was telling Matt earlier was basically all this false information is commercials you see on TV between your TV shows. You'll see this commercial pop up saying, hey, cigarettes are terrible and 100 cigarettes is equal to hookah or whatever, right? We don't have any way to combat the misinformation out there other than word of mouth and getting to the heart of the people that we actually interact with. Do you think of any other way, like YouTube, Instagram, stuff like that we could use kind of more as a lowball tactic to get more information out there?
I think that, all right, you guys are you're making a great effort to do this stuff better than I am, but I may have a bigger audience than you. So how about we get together afterwards and come up with a show like this that I can broadcast on, we'll do it on regular video so it's clean, and then we post it on YouTube, and we can do it weekly or so, just to keep the awareness going. And then also my Instagram is pretty big for Hookah. You know, I think it's at like 30,000 subscribers. YouTube is the same. Because the forums, everyone seems to know, or the Facebook groups, everybody seems to know what's going on across the board. I don't have a good answer. I mean, what needs to be done? I can support whoever is doing the right thing. That's all I can do is support people. So again, I offer my support, and
using your platform as big as it is to leverage this kind of information, I think is just going to be a very good thing. Because unfortunately, this information being shared in the Facebook groups isn't quite enough, because that makes up such a tiny little amount of people that are actually affected by this whole thing. So I think that we should definitely pull the trigger on something like that sooner than later.
I'd like to hand the mic over to Paul for just a second. And I know that Paul has some questions from our Facebook chat that I'd like to try and get to here momentarily.
Yeah, I got one question from the chat, and they were basically saying it was going back to hookah lounges that serve minors and getting them reported and stuff. Does the hookah chamber as a whole, or the industry as a whole, once these lounges are reported and are known, supporters of underage smoking and whatnot, do you guys have a plan to implement and be like, okay, you guys are banned. Like, we're not supplying you guys tobacco, charcoal, anything until you guys fix your stuff? Or is that something that needs to be handled offline and elsewhere?
This would be a good question for Ron and Neve.
Guys, I'll just chime in real quick, Arnie, with Hookah Chamber. My ultimate goal is to get everybody on board and approach everybody with a gentle hand or soft-spoken, and ask them kindly to stop doing what they're doing wrong. And then if they don't, act upon it or make the change that we're asking, then we could, go on to reporting and everything else. Because what I don't want to see happening is competition reporting each other just for the wrong reasons. And at the same time, if we could get one more positive individual on our side and let them know that we're serious about this, it's better than trying to kill everybody, because then we're just going to create, I don't want to say enemies, but people who have ill will towards us. Go ahead. Anybody else that has?
I have something to say, commenting on this question. I believe the first step is really to put points together as far as what the amendment will say. Part of the amendment, because you cannot really go after hookah lounges, as Arnie said, and make enemies when we haven't even amended, or at least found out or figured out if the amendment is a possible thing. Once the amendment becomes a possible thing, where we present the sympathetic to the bill, understanding that yes, we do need to do something about this bill and about the young kids being able to smoke, whatever it may be. Once we get to that point, we could also, part of those points is to self-govern. And once you get to that point of self-governance, then you can actually enforce it onto the lounges or smoke shops that are doing something illegal, without the state having to cough up the money. We could cough money based on how we raise the money for now, how we're doing the amendment and paying for the lobbyists and all that stuff. So that I believe that needs to be done first, is the amendment, the points, the brainstorming of how we can attack this and make them understand that we are understanding and sympathetic, and we want to make this more classy. We want to fight the fight with them, but there are a lot of lives that are going to get affected by this ban. Even though you're not saying that you're forcing us to shut down, but in a way you are, by forcing us to decrease our profitability, a lot of people are going to shut down. You're not forcing us, as in like sending the police over to shut us down, but eventually we're shutting down. right?
Ron, I know we've talked about you and Neve as the owners of Vapor Hookah Lounge, but also you're a manufacturer. You have brought the Phoenix HMD to market. Does that product get affected by these bills as well, as far as because it is a product that is aligned with?
Can I go back to Paul's question just a little bit really quick?
Of course.
The question was, Paul, could you say that one more time? They wanted to know if we would, as like distributors or whoever, they wanted to basically stop supplying these lounges.
Yeah, like if it gets to the point where soft speak and trying to convince them doesn't work, and they just continue to violate the community standards and California law by supplying to minors. They want to know, what punishments can the community implement on these guys in order to make them walk right.
I mean, it's a great idea. However, it would be taking it too far. We need to let the government agencies that are in charge of this come down and impose the fines and shut them down. What needs to be done needs to be done. Two, there's so many distributors out there that still don't even know about these laws. If we stop, supplying them, there's going to be another distributor down the street that's going to supply them.
It's all about money. The distributor's going to make money. He's not going to stop selling to me, even if he knows that I'm doing something illegal.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to stop selling to me because I'm buying. At the end of the day, it's money in his pocket. It's based on business and profitability. So that's going to be tough.
We need to approach these lounges, like Arnie said, and soft. I think it was Arnie that said this. In a nice way, and try and educate them. However, we have come across many lounges that don't want to be educated, or they already know they're breaking the law, and they literally do not care. They do not care. Those are the lounges that we need to weed out and target, and if they don't want to listen, they don't want to follow the laws, those are the lounges I believe we should be reporting at the end of the day.
So also some good news, looking at the Hookah Chamber of Commerce Facebook page, it said Rashad Debag posted saying that he had spoken with Senator Ling Ling Chang from California, and that the conversation that he had with her is saying that the flavored tobacco will be amended out of the California bill. Now, that's good news for us, but it doesn't stop anything that's going on in the House of Representatives and federally. So,
guys, but just to chime in on this, I don't know the conversation he had. I know a few of the Republican senators do support us and said they would, we should be carved out. I don't think anyone has even made proposed to other senators to actually carve us out. If they had, we would have, most likely heard about it. But I'm going to have Afric follow up on that tomorrow morning just to find out what the actual conversation was, because a lot of the senators, we had a senator from Santa Monica that said, yeah, you guys should be carved out. You're totally different than what we're trying to go after. But just that sentence got us excited, but at the same time, is he going to champion it for us? Is he going to ask for the carve out? And if he does ask, are we going to actually get the carve out?
If she asks for the carve out, she's going to have to ask for it, and it's not going to be she can't make a promise like that if she hasn't got it through to be put into the amendment, like on paper. So
yeah, that's exactly one point. I was like, it's great that you had the conversation, but there's nothing written about it.
Exactly.
So nothing's official until it's written.
Yeah, we don't want to stymie the effort of the Hookah Chamber or anybody that is really behind this by one conversation being posted on a Facebook group. So
I'm hopeful, because we do need somebody to champion it, and if she's willing to represent us to Senator Hill, then I'm more than happy to have her. She did go down to Orange County and smoke hookah, on Brookhurst in the Gaza Strip, and I would love her support.
That's pretty amazing. What I'd like to do is I'd like to give the mic over to Matt and Adrian to wrap us up here, since they are audio capable.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, this was a great time. Obviously, this conversation could go on for a very long time. Honestly, there's a lot of things to discuss.
It needs to.
There's a lot of minute details. I think we were able to cover a lot of.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying, yeah, I agree. Like it's one of those things where there's so many levels and layers to this. It's like an onion kind of, or maybe a cake, depending on what you are. Sorry, I had to throw in some of the old charm of the Hookah podcast and stuff. We really do appreciate everybody being on the stream. We appreciate Hookah University, obviously, allowing us to partner up and do it on both sides of the coin and stuff like that. Everyone stuck around even with the audio problems on the YouTube and the Twitch stream. Thank you guys so much for that as well. Thank you for participating in the chat by asking questions. And this conversation doesn't end at the end of this right now. This conversation continues to go on for a very long time. It goes on inside of Hookah Chamber. There's going to be
yeah. Luckily, you know, if John's going to extend his social media and everything, leveraging that, a lot of the people that watch us, unfortunately, are just pretty consolidated into our already existing Facebook groups and stuff, our reach. So hopefully we can expand that a little bit, but we will be expanding on this in the near future, just so everybody does know. And yeah, I'm just going to reiterate, thank you so much for staying, even with all of the audio problems we did have.
And Rima, any final thoughts from yourself as well?
Well, I'm really excited to actually hear that there's so many people that are wanting to get involved and to want to have, you know, opposing these flavor bans. And I really appreciate how Hookah John stepped up and are willing to share his contacts in a pretty amazing stage at the upcoming expo. And if there's anyone else that has any type of contacts or opportunities that you think will help us get the word out, especially to help organize people to join Hookah Chamber of Commerce, I think that would really help our efforts to unite, get information to people, and also to help mobilize people when we do need to actually physically show up to certain events and have a presence. But thank you very much for hosting this. I think that this was exactly what we need, and as someone aptly said earlier, this is the start of a conversation, and it needs to continue.
You know, I completely agree with you. We want to continue to have these conversations. So if you feel that there is something to be said, anybody on the video, just go ahead, reach out to us. We'd be happy to facilitate that conversation. Mm-hmm. I'd also like to get John Nador's kind of final thoughts and kind of bring this kind of a little bit of a full circle a little bit and get your final thoughts as well, John.
Okay, thanks. I think we've got some professionals here that are doing their work. I think we've got people in the industry who are doing some work. So let's let them get back to work. I want to get together with you guys online a little bit and come up with just spreading the word a little bit more. And I think we can do that. We can work it out logistically and have some ideas for you. So thanks for the guys that came on, for Rima and for George and Arnie and the other two gentlemen that helped out too, that chimed in. I appreciate what you guys, the groups, are doing too, and the other business owners here.
I would like to extend also a special thank you to Shams and Steve from Zoomerit. They are really the ones that have, you know, brought us together. And if you can unmute yourself, Shams, that would be fantastic. But I'd like to wrap this up with Shams and, you know, get his final thoughts as well.
Thank you, Jeremy. I think it was really constructive. We are raising awareness. Everybody.
I think his Wi-Fi is shut.
Yeah, I think your Wi-Fi cut out, but I think we'll continue to have these conversations. I want to expand an extra special thank you to Adrian and Matt for allowing us their platform, their time frame, to kind of expose the truths about this and kind of
absolutely
all of those.
Thanks everyone. Everyone in the groups that I talk to every day and everyone that I've never spoken to. John, I know you guys are all busy people. Thank you for taking the time to come and do this. I think that pretty well wraps up everything we need to go over in this hour and a half we had allocated for this discussion.
Yeah, I think that if anybody wants to if you want to continue this conversation in a very quick way, go over to the Hookah Chamber. It is a group on Facebook. You can find it and you can participate. You can learn more information. As soon as that website is up, obviously that will be directed for more information. If you guys have questions that you want to post in any of the Facebook groups, somebody will see it, and we'd be more than happy to direct you and help you in some way, obviously. Obviously Chris is not audio allowed right now, but I want to tell Chris, thank you so much for hosting this and dealing with all the technical difficulties that sometimes arise here on the AM Hookah podcast. We appreciate it so very much. You guys have all been fantastic, and everybody in the chat, thank you so much for joining, being a part of it as well. One
second, Mac, before you wrap up, I want to let, as one of the admins of Hookah University, again, thank you to everybody who's been on here. Matt and Adrian, our friends, and everybody that in the industry. We want to, from Hookah University, to extend George, Arnie, Rima, anybody, please feel free to post in Hookah University. We want to know what's going on. Anything you guys know about, anything you want our community to know about, please feel free. Don't think that you cannot take things from Hookah Chamber and also post them into our group as well. So,
thank you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Arnie with Hookah Chamber. Guys, what I've been trying to do is post as much as possible, but at the same time, my other concern is eventually as we get like the politician catch on to us, they're going to get their spies into our groups and into our chat rooms. So let's remain professional, kind, understanding, and whatever we post in the Hookah Chamber, vice versa, you guys could just share it on your groups, because sometimes, I myself, I'm a member of many of the groups, but once I start sharing it, I lose track of it. So if you see something that's valuable, important, that needs to be shared, go ahead and share it, please. We don't have anything that says you can't share anything from the Hookah Chamber, although I would like to keep the Hookah Chamber focused on, the politics of it, kind of the business aspect of it, not about how you pack a bowl and, what's the best flavor out there.
No, of course. But the reason why I extend that to you guys is because in closed Facebook groups, sharing is usually prohibited. So it's not as easy as clicking share on a public Facebook profile to bring it into another place. So just something to keep in mind.
Definitely. No, thank you. And definitely, if you see something that hasn't been shared that you feel like it needs to be shared, reach out to me and I'll see if I could maybe make it shareable, or if we could, I'll just post it directly to, the other groups. And I thank all of you for participating and caring. So thank you from myself and everybody else from Hookah Chamber.
Arnie, I have a question for you, if you don't mind, because we touched up on this a little bit earlier. You always talk about numbers. Do we need numbers in the Hookah Chamber as well? Because that's where Hookah University, Hookah John, THL, all the other groups, they can invite people. And what they do is they have admins and moderators, so that in case somebody goes on and puts a comment that is not supposed to be there, they could delete it right away if that guy or that person that same thing
definitely
again. So
reach out to me if you'd like to be a moderator or an admin on Hookah Chamber. Currently it's myself and I believe Yanni. I have no problem having other people on board to kind of manage the group, and it would be helpful.
Guys from HU, the moderators, admins from Hookah John or THL or whomever, they can be also. You could make them moderators or admins on the Hookah Chamber. They could make sure that all of their members, they can go on to the Hookah Chamber. That way, you get your numbers, and they can kind of moderate in a way to keep it nice and professional, as you said.
Yeah, I think that would be efficient, because there are a lot of conflating issues that sometimes get posted into these kind of groups that you don't want your message to be even aligned with. And I've seen some things that I'm like, oh, that probably shouldn't. So it would be good to have a little more moderation, people making sure that the focus is in the right direction, like you guys are trying to do.
Yeah. That way we fight the fight on two levels. We fight the fight by numbers, as Arnie, and we take use of Hookah University and everybody else that is willing to help. As well as the lawyer and Mr. Vargas, Arnie, George, they're still working on the more professional and the higher level to make the amendment, and they know what they need to do. They're the professionals, and at any time they need anything from us, they could reach out. They know that, and we're there to help.
Yeah, the chat will remain open. The chat will, and let's do this as a team. Let's champion this as a team and keep this moving forward. That way it gains traction nationwide, not just in said group. Let's really work on this. Let's work on keeping our tempers cool. Let's also work on trying to find a way to spread the word in an effective manner.
Beautiful stuff. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
guys.
I will say, we will bid you adieu from the AM Hookah Podcast and Hookah University. We love you all. We hope you have a great day. And with that, we bid you adieu.
Thank you.